First of all, welcome to our panel. Nice to have you guys here. We are Jewelz Sparks, and today we want to show you a way to work on music production as a duo. And the way we are going to show you that is that we are going to explain how we produced a track called Grande Opera, and that one was released on Revealed last year. And we want to show you how we work as a duo. So,
first we're gonna feature some part of on the more creative side, and towards the end will be more of the technical side. Maybe we play first.
Exactly, and whenever you guys have any questions or you guys want to interrupt, which is absolutely no problem, just raise your hands and we're gonna throw that fancy question cube, and you guys can just ask your questions. Okay, so first of all, let's play the track. I will just jump in so that you guys know which track we are talking about. You understand? So that is Grande Opera, the track we want to talk about today. And actually, because this track did pretty well for us, we were super happy with the outcome. It was featured in EA Sports, Madden, NFL, Madden 18. This was captured from my PlayStation. And you can hear in the background.
But not much room to maneuver after that. It'll be a gain of 5 and the punt team will now.
So they used it as a stadium in-game sound.
Good solid yardage. They'll take that
solid yardage. All right. So that was that. And also in Korea, we got a big hype because there was a Korean comedian who is also a DJ, and he played it at Octagon, which is a pretty famous club in Seoul. And actually, he played a rip of Hardwell on Air, and he forgot to took the watermark out.
The second Hardwell exclusive will be the second release of Revealed in 2017. Can you guess which artist this is?
Yeah, so he just left the Hardwell on Air on the track, and we actually made a mashup which also featured the Hardwell on Air vocal, and we played that a lot, so that was fun. So when it comes to production, what we learned over the years is that it always helps us if we have a topic before we start a track, like any topic, like Egypt or Western or whatever. And in this case, it was opera, just as a topic. And the first thing that came into our mind, thinking of opera, was the musical, Phantom of the Opera. and it has a very, very famous score. So check this out. So that is pretty famous, and we thought of that, and we thought of making our own version of that famous thing. So this is how we came up with a break. Also what we do, we work on 2 laptops, on 2 systems. We are connected via Dropbox, and for the sketching part, like to just get a rough layout, we use Ableton because it's so intuitive, and you can always like just put sounds in and do anything you want with it. And as soon as we have the basic idea in a very, very rough rudimental mix, we put it all to the Dropbox, render it out as audio, and we put it into Logic on the other machine. So what you guys see here is basically the first idea of Grande Opera. The way we sketch is that we have like, it's a bit of chaos. You see spire, 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 spire. It's not even like titled right. It's
supposed to be chaos in this stage of the production.
Or let's say it's okay.
Yeah.
At least it's okay
Yeah.
to be chaos. We came up with a plugin with a preset sound in Spire. It's called Lead Note 12, and it sounds something like this. So we thought of just playing something similar to the Phantom of the Opera thing, but just a little different. So that was like our first idea to approach that whole thing. And we were like, okay, let's make it a bit evil, and because it sounds evil, and that was how we started. So what followed was we thought, okay, we need some more layers to that because this is not enough. And even as this is just the sketching, this is not like final mixing or anything. You have a little reverb here and there. We have a reverb on the bus and stuff. For that, we like to use Valhalla Room, very good one. And we thought, okay, we need some more layers. So we thought of choir. We need some like evil choir to add to this. So we came up with samples. We just go to Splice. I think you guys know it. It's a very nice online sampling library where you can always look for samples of any kind. And we just typed in choir, and it gave us some choir, and we played it in the same key. So we used 2 layers for that. This is one, and the other one. Yeah, so that gave us like a little vocal on top and some more thickness. And also a very rough bass, just for demo reasons. Just take a bass from Spire. There's even a room on that one.
we didn't end up using that one.
Yeah, exactly.
For basses, we mostly use the Serum.
Exactly, but it was fine for the demo, for the sketch. So all of these together sounded like this. And that was like the start of the track, because we knew, okay, this is going to be a theme, and there's a big gap. Like every time it repeats, there's a big gap in between. So we were thinking, okay, we have to fill that up somehow. We don't know yet how to do it, but we will fill it up. And so we thought, okay, maybe some drums, just some big stadium drums. Again, Splice, stadium drums. Whatever there is, so it gave us, like you see it here, low hit War Storm, kick stomp, Kashmir stomp, crane, and some stuff like that, and we just, just not randomly, but you have something in mind, you know, and you just put it in, and together with or I play it alone first. It's just.
We ended up using almost this pattern. I think we switched it up a little bit. So when we render out loops, put it in the Dropbox, and then after it, we edit everything in Logic X. So I think we ended up with almost this kind of pattern. But in terms of the songwriting, what I want to add is like when we think about breaks, because in general, when we produce like club records like this, you will always think about your live scenario. So like, as a DJ, you would like think after the drop, all right, so you have like an impact, so the big breakdown is coming, and then you think about in the break, maybe you can interact a little bit with the people and just keep that in mind while you produce, because often you realize putting on a record that you just like finished up, and then you realize, okay, so people don't really know how to move in the break, so with the 4 to the floor kick in the drop, or like the 120 BPM, 28 BPM is very clear throughout the drop, but then in the break you often realize, okay, the energy goes like way too much down, and then it's very, very cool often to give the people some kind of rhythm that they can interact with their hands, and so we have like a open up the hands kind of, you know, live clap that we do whenever we play this kind of break, and it just really fits with that tempo there, a halftime feel.
Yeah, exactly. We can basically do it right now because I'm going to play what we have now. We now have the theme and we have the drums. So together it was something like this.
And then you'd be like... So that engages the people to go along with it, because if you break it down to halftime, there's mostly like, the energy goes way down.
Exactly.
Usually.
And also what I see now, it's the tempo is right here. It's 126. I think there was no special thought behind that. I think we were just fed up a bit with the 128. We just switched it up, and actually it works.
Often it's like grooving a little bit more, especially when you have a drop that is kind of very percussive and very like rhythmic or rhythm-based instead of melody-based, which we have a lot. And it sometimes does a little bit more to the groove in the track when you just slow it down slightly. So just you can groove way more around 124, 26.
Exactly. And we had the idea of the basic break, very rough, but the idea is there and the vibe is there. And then, we still need a drop. So we have a very special kind of sound. We do very percussive drops, like very staccato style, hard-hitting stuff. And for sketching, again, there's no very in-depth mixing, but still, to get the vibe in the drop and stuff, to get it, we still have a trigger here for the sidechain, and we do some sidechaining here, but the focus is on getting the idea. And for me, it helps tremendously to not care about the mix when I'm sketching, because for me, mixing is kind of it's work. You know, so it's good to just throw ideas and stuff and to know, okay, we're going to mix this thing later, but still, you need some stuff. So you need a trigger also here. Also, what I always add is, this one is Basilica Lute. Well, it's just any kind of MIDI instrument that gives you the key. Because whenever you just use audio from somewhere and just put it into a simpler of Ableton, it can be any note. So you don't really have a reference. So to have the key of I always have this channel, and I would never use that, but it gives you the key, and that's important. So you need a Platzhalter kick. Germans know it's just a kick you use.
Where's the Germans? Raise your hand, right? Oh, okay. Many.
Yeah. So
Servus.
The Platzhalter kick is a temporary kick. We won't use it in the end. We'll build our own, but of course, big kick, Kashmir. It's good. It's very good for the demo. Perfect. So, and then we think, okay, we have our, we call it JS plug sound, and we use that quite a lot. It sounds like this. And it's very important to get that in tune, because you might even think that it doesn't have a note playing to it, but actually it does, and it perfectly matches the Basilica lute. Because you can see if I switch it up, no, that's the way to get it. So, and you see even this key is G, it's a G, and the simpler is playing D, but that is because it's a different root sound. It's just audio thrown in. Okay, so we like to do very simple patterns, and we start with the plug sound. There's a question. I'm going to try. Okay, you guys catch? Perfect.
Does it work?
Yeah.
It works. How did you make the Jewelz Sparks sound? Is it just a sample, or?
Basically, we have a couple. That is not being mentioned, all of them here, but in this record, we have a couple of these percussive sounds that we collect basically from earlier records, just percussive things that work really well with patterns. And then what we tend to do is to layer them, and whenever we play melodies or rhythms like that and layer them on top of each other, so we mostly have a very untonal plug that gives like kind of a wooden feel to it, and maybe, it's hard to describe, it's like a submarine pling that is very much shortened. That gives a lot of tonality to it. And then even the plugs or these percussive sounds themselves is like sometimes 4 layers on top of each other, but we have them in our library. So whenever we created them 3 tracks ago, we would like make a wave or like a little sample file, and then just put it in our own library. And then whenever you skip through them, like just percussive stuff you liked from your past projects, and you can play melodies and put them again in the simpler.
Yeah. But they are all sampled. Like we didn't.
So there use various like from Vengeance, from Splice, from like just anything you can come across.
I think the first one we ever did with Toxic Rush, that was our first collaboration track. It came from the Vengeance, but I don't even remember which one.
Some
just
electroshock or something. Just like
just
there's percussive folders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we have the we are in the key of G, and we have the. Well, okay, let's mute that one. But just simple with the kick. Well, this was actually just an attack.
So also so you see also for drum work, like in this case, sidechain is essential, right? So if it's just a very static pattern, any sort of these elements, you should definitely sidechain it to the kick as well, not only your synths and basses and stuff.
Exactly. And here it's you can do mistakes because it's sketching, so. But you get a feeling. That's enough of a mix to get a feeling for the drop. And again, what you just said, like we are layering a lot, so we need some more stuff on top of this plug. So we tried different stuff to add to this. This one. Yeah. Well. What we do is we like take vocals or anything, all samples, and we put it into the simpler of Ableton, which is pretty cool because you just drag and drop and you just play immediately on the keyboard, and you can just use any sound to do that. So we came up with this one. We also tried this one. Wait, sorry. Oh man, I'm such a chaotic producer. Okay, I think that one didn't make it either. And we came up with this one.
A lot of stuff doesn't end up in the final production because we just export stuff and work with loops in the end.
Exactly. This one is better.
I think this one made it.
Yeah, it's like a little monkey actually, and
Yeah. We give it funny names, so.
there's some panning here. Again, rough mixing, but just because the channel is giving us some more on the right. Just put it opera style.
Yeah, sometimes that's also like a good thing. You just watch your channel all the time. When you put in samples, just you don't know them, or you never worked with that very sample before, and sometimes you just drag it in, and you don't realize within the mix that it's like it's panned slightly, and maybe you don't want that, and then you end up having stuff panned all slightly to the left or something. But just with that. The volume here, you can just, and then maybe sometimes you have to adjust a little bit because their samples are just bounced as a panned sample a little bit or something. Just watch that.
Exactly. This one, we have this one as well. I'm checking. Well, and also I think this one was too big roomish. It actually works. But we ditched it because we wanted the sound to be a bit more unique, and this is like, for us, this felt like a bit too normal of a big room lead. And
All right.
also we tried this one. Well, we had a track before, it was called Drip. Actually, but this is also, sometimes it's fun to use plugins that are not used for synths, for example, and create synths with them. So for this we use the Kick 2, Nicky Romero's plugin, and but it didn't. Nah, not so much. So so then we think, okay, what should we take? And then we render all the stuff like 8-bar loops, for example, and we just render them as normal audio from Ableton. And we used to do that like dry. I will then go here, and when I render, I will take off all the buses and stuff to make it really dry. I was just mixing to get the feeling, and then we put it to the Dropbox, and then we put it to Logic. And for that part of the process, we are going to unplug my computer and
Yeah. So basically, everything is like divided in two sections. That was like the more creative part of these things. So when you get the essence of the song with these club tracks, basically the arrangement and the whole mix down and the actual creation of the can you see it? Yeah, the actual creation of the arrangement is more like a decoration around the essence of the record. So you have a rhythmic thing for the drop, which needs to be decorated with fills, with endings of 8-bar patterns, with all sorts of stuff. And I mean, again, you can be just creative, but that's just basically sound design. That's not so much the songwriting or the creation of the track anymore. It's more like sound design, collecting. So this is like stacked stuff, which is fills in the end of patterns. They sound kind of like this. So it's very short things that decorate that pattern.
maybe you can solo just the layers for this little effect.
Yeah, I'll try to show this some more. So yeah, in the ending you always have these kind of sections. Yeah, so this one is more like mixed, not mastered, but mixed. This goes into a limiter. So you can see here on my output, there's just like a waves. There's just like a waves limiter. And this is also where we set all the buses and the actual channels for the mixing, set them up with. This is some pretty rough equalizing here and there. Yeah, but again, so you create these kind of sections every, dance music, or especially this EDM club music follows these patterns. So yeah, we have these 8-bar sections, for instance. I'll play it just from here to show you. his files that we just. These are the ones that we just dragged in from the creation process.
Yeah, that was the monkey plug. Exactly.
Yeah. So and in the end, we once again, this is also how we work with the original percussive things. We create these kind of things. Just solo that. Stuff like that, you know, just in the end.
Maybe play the single layers. It might be.
That gives a lot of
because
that
it
gives
adds
a
up.
lot of sound design to it. And you also hear the proper reverb already, which is sidechain to the groove. You have something like that. A reverse, crash, a impact, then something that leads to the fill, and then another impact snare, right, to have that. Ends up being something like that. And I recommend you guys to spend some time on these kind of things because that makes your track stand out more if it's a more minimalistic one. Even if it's a more minimalistic one, especially then, like try to work on these single elements like way more than you would just don't go to splice and drag and drop like a fill from a cashmere pack, right?
Do that for the sketching, but not for
do that
like
for
the final.
For the creation
Yeah.
process. But then, because we get asked a lot, like how do you develop your own sound and your own essence? It's basically very simple. Just pick sounds that you like and stack them over each other and layer them, but do it in kind of a way that follows an idea. So we have ideas like this, for instance, just a fill like that. Oh, that's the version where we included this one. Yeah.
That's our mashup version.
That's the mashup version. Let me mute that. Also this one, right? So yeah, you have some sounds that lead to the fill. You have a specific rhythmic fill pattern in mind. Yeah, stuff like that. So let's.
We have a question, and
Yeah.
you already have the cue.
Still have it.
Perfect.
Did you make the kick yourself? So
I think
or is
so,
it
You
yeah.
can go to the kick.
Well, this is kind of, I say, I think I saved a new version here, but yeah, you can see the bottom of the kick is from somewhere else, and then the top kick we put in from one of our own. Yeah,
That's
this
just
is
the attack. Yeah.
yeah, and the attack is very very important to the characteristics of a sound. So we save a lot of attacks, like very short samples like this, like a top kick, right? To give it that unique Jewelz and Sparks more-esque sound, right? So there's like a top, and there's that bottom that you obviously want in your club record. Yeah, so basically what it is just that very short. What we found out is to have a short top kick is not the same as having just an attack for the kick. So we like to have a very much, there's a lot of bass in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can feel that in your chest, right? So you want that 130 kind of frequency in there as well. Then when you don't have a baseline pattern, you want the tonality of the record to come through. So it's like when you have long kicks, you want this tonality, right? So especially when you turn it up loud in the club, that works really, really well. And then the sub bass, I can just undo. Yeah, it's very, very simple sub bass. So there's like a low, yeah.
And you see it's all shifted to leave the attack some space. And then, like, because these are fades. And
Yeah,
also
if you don't know Logic, these are fades, these ones, right? So yeah, these three elements, it's our kick. Sometimes it's 4 elements. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we work a lot on these things, and it looks really simple now, but it's like 1 or 2 hours of mixing work that goes into just these 3 elements sometimes. So you just sit in front of the screen and just try different sub basses and stuff, and just give that stuff some time. So you want that to be perfect, as perfect as you can get it, because it's basically what the groundwork that you build your whole club record upon. Yeah, so we built that kick. I was going to, yeah, well, just after 8, just standard stuff, right? So maybe you're very familiar with these kind of patterns, so you add up more claps and just, and then there comes a ride and a clap, and so maybe that's not too interesting, but let's look at the break once again. So we had these kind of opera samples here, right? And in the beginning you heard we had these, you just basically had it on a reverb in the
Ableton.
yeah,
just
standard
on the bus.
reverb, just throw
Nothing
it on
special.
there, nothing much done to it. And what we did here is, I think we have a absolutely dry signal of the chords in the beginning, and then work with the contrast of the chord sounds being dry and being wet in between. So what we did here is basically this one. You can see that is the reverb that is being bounced in place just from these chord layers before. And then we completely deleted it in this section and just open it up manually by just dragging and drop it back in the parts in between. And then even when the reverb is going down, this is still the reverb, so it goes back up again. So there's kind of a move to it, like a movement.
You can play it.
So there it goes down, and it comes back.
And we like to bounce reverbs because we can control it easier. Like the reverb is living a lot, so if we bounce it, we can just cut it wherever we want. And this is why we did that here.
Right.
Exactly.
This is the drum pattern we ended up with doing. Right. And that itself is going to, some small Valhalla reverbs. This is basically our main reverb, I would say. We used the Valhalla and also that Logic internal reverb, which is still great, I would say. Question? No? Yeah, right. So that's how the break evolves here. Also, to get into the layers one more time is, so usually the ones we ended up with using. And then we had panned chords. This is all slightly EQ'd, so whenever you have one element that is being EQ'd here and there, so you have this one having a mid section equalizer boosted, and then some other ones have higher ones
Just to take the
taken
pain
away.
out. Yeah.
And then you have a lot. This is very heavy EQing right here. But you can decide that in the end. So this is like in the end mixing process. You can have all these boosts and stuff. First layer them and then adjust them to each other. When you end up with a cool stack of chord sounds that you like, then go into the equalizing and adjust them to each other and just boost and take away various frequency bands from the various layers. So we have this one. I don't know, this one, right?
Which bass did we actually end up with? Was it the one from
as I said, this is a serum, I think.
this one? Yeah.
Very important, right? So just to get, without that, it'd be almost no energy. Yeah, just coming from the drums then, but you don't want that only coming from the drums. So very important.
And there's another bass layer, and
sorry,
2 up. Yeah, this one, and this one came from Ableton.
Yeah,
but it's just for the characteristics.
We still kept that from the characteristics because we realized when we take it away, it's a little bit different than we thought it would be. So we still kept it in, but cut it off and kept this part. Frequency band here still in there. Right, and then still. That was just a little bit fatter. Mostly we use that very basic serum setup. You can just basically end shift in between saw waves. And this is just use very simple saw wave stuff to layer these kind of things. No experimental with like a chorus on the bass or just like a flanger or some phaser or something. Just keep it simple if you just want to support your chords with a bass. Keep it very basic.
Basic.
Basic. That's the most effective.
Maybe we can have a look at the riser, the build-up.
Yep.
Because we didn't talk about it. So what you hear is, we call it drop tag, the little sound before a drop. And exactly, we use it as an atmosphere as well to add more energy to the drop. And
just on the second one though. The first one you keep a little bit more simple, and then on the second one, when people already are familiar with your drop patterns, with your rhythmics, you add more stuff and just you can come in with more things at the same time already. And then it's always cool to have some kind of, we still like the white noise. You know?
Sidechain.
A little bit old school, but we still like it because that mostly in the club there's like a CO2 gun. It's turning on anyways, and just when they don't do it, you still have that little bit of. It's called acoustic. Acoustic effect. Impression.
So what was first, the CO2 gun or the white noise in the production?
Good question.
Yeah.
Then we have just. I think, what is on there? Just the basic EQing. This is very, very good sometimes. If you don't have main elements in your mix down, and you want to take that frequency back, actually a little bit higher maybe. This one, like 3.3, 3.5, you would want to give it a hard dip there, because. That is when you turn music up loud, due to the Fletcher-Munson curve, if you heard about that, it's very much hurting your ears, because as the volume gets louder, it's affecting the pressure on your ears more. That's just some kind of physics, right? So you want to give that some good dips there. So whenever stuff is hurting in your mix, you just gotta. That's very much insider knowledge. Like very good tips that we've got in the past is you want to watch 2 frequency bands. When stuff is hurting in your mix, you have the 3.5 and you have the 5.0. That's the 2 frequency bands that you want to watch. Like maybe just slightly less, just like that, and then have another one here at not 7. 7's great, but 5 you want to get rid of sometimes.
We're improving the mix right now.
Yeah, let's re-release it now. Okay, so this is a very good thing to keep in mind. So whenever you have stuff hurting, especially in the high frequencies, don't go and dip this one down, right? So this is like the brilliant stuff that gives like the, you know, shiny, this one, the shelf, that gives the shininess to the sound. Don't necessarily drag this down just because it hurts, right? So these two bands you want to watch. That's maybe a good tip.
Yeah. So I think it's 2 more minutes to go.
More questions, maybe?
Yeah, is there any question about anything?
In the back, way in the back.
Oh, yeah.
We can't throw the ball, but like
no,
that
not
far,
that
maybe.
far.
You want to step forward?
Step up. Yeah, throw it. Awesome. Hi.
Hey, I've been fan forever of you guys, and
Woo!
I noticed that. No, I noticed that at the beginning of the first records that you guys released with Flamingo, you know, the master of you guys, I really hated in that time because it was not that loud, you know, as other records. But the latest records that you have released, like, really good. So why did you guys change from that first releases to these new releases? Do you guys change the mastering chain?
We didn't
or
even think
sounds
about
or
it.
stuff
You
like
know,
that?
whenever you hit the market, like you're not the final of your abilities or your product, so you just still keep developing over the years. But like I would say, for 2-3 years, we have a really good mastering chain right now, so that serves us pretty well. And we just like, I think we have a couple of records that are just insanely loud, maybe even too loud. It's not necessarily the best if your record is the loudest of all of them, right? Mm-hmm. I think Drip or something, we have records that are really loud. That works, because mostly in the clubs, still it's already distorted and stuff, and when your record still sounds okay, that's a good sign. But yeah, we obviously also developed our mastering skills. Anybody is interested in mastering? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So maybe just very quickly we can show the chain that we had on this record. Maybe we find it. Here we go. So what we do is we have these records in our limiter, right? When we mix it, and then we do the mastering in a separate project. So we don't necessarily have our mastering chain on the output in the project itself. Re-import it, and just to have it as a free mind, it's like a separate step of production, right? So we kind of like to separate these steps. Yeah, so this might be louder. And you can hear there's way more highs in it. Yeah, and then that's when you adjust them to records that you like, that's out there, just that you know, and just have some references. We tend to slightly mix below the brilliance and the high frequencies that is acquired for standard dance mastering at the moment. So you obviously want it as loud as possible.
And you want the drop to have impact, so what we do is like we have a little dip before the drop beforehand.
In this case, I think, yeah, so I'm going to show you step by step. First, this one, there's an equalizer. Second, this one is a multi-band compressor from Waves. And we leave out the lower band, right? So that's what we do. You don't want to have your low frequencies compressed that early in the mastering chain for various reasons. Don't ask me, but it's just working way better. This is a very soft equalizer that you can just. It looks really hard, but it's really not, right? So yeah, just to boost some mid highs and highs. Then we have also from the Waves bundle this API compressor. It's basically very similar to the OTT, but it's like an analog machine. We also keep that analog on here. We feel it adds a little more characteristic to it, and then you just want to, calm it down a little bit and turn it into a little bit of a sausage already, which then comes the sausage.
Yeah.
I think a lot of you guys know this plugin is by Data Live. One of the most brilliant plugins, basically, it's basically a saturation tool. You can use the Vintage Warmer by PSP, or that, or just basically some Oxford maximizer as well. It's basically our maximizer. It's just we felt it just works. It works really good. It just turns it up really loud, and then just to throw the peaks right here, just to have it on that, touching that 0 in the end, just to make sure, just slightly another maximizer and just a limiter.
Yeah, so one thing to add, what you hear is not the truth, it is our truth. Everybody should have his own truth of working and on what works for him or her. For us, it is basically what we just showed you. That pretty much works for us.
You can see them working when I play it. And that's what you want to have, right? So you want to have that low passing through here, and then you want to have this just to slightly calm it down on that point of the chain here. So just to touch the middle for some reason, right?
Okay, guys, I think we are 5 minutes over already.
Oh, we're done,
we will
done.
be here for more questions for you guys. If you want to have a chat or something, we will hang around here for a while. And again, it's our truth. Find your own, and all the best for you guys.
Hope you enjoyed it,
Yeah,
and see you
hope to
next time.
soon.